life, and I must say you're thriving. I'm very proud of you for that, and I guess your family as well is very, very happy, Nisa, about all the beautiful work that you do, and you're an inspiration to all the women out there. If you've went through Nisa's experience, just know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a pot of gold, at the end of the rainbow. Nisa, I have a special gift here for you, because you've been such a light, to a lot of people, that have come across your blog, people that you work with at work, your family, and just who you are. You're a light. And our friends from Eswatini Candles, thank you so much for these gifts. I would like to present this candle for you to continue shining. This is for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
With that, we'd like to say thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for watching this amazing episode with Nonhlanganiso Nkosi. It was not an easy conversation, trust me. As a woman sitting here and listening to another woman who went through such a traumatic experience, it was a hard conversation to have today, but these conversations need to be had. Thank you for joining.
Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to the News Bulletin at 8, brought to you by our number one news provider, Eswatini TV. I am Nondumiso Vilagati alongside Zama Nzimanze, and here are your top stories. The World Food Programme, in collaboration with other UN agencies and development partners, have promised to strengthen the schools meals program. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini left the country for Tanzania to represent His Majesty King Mswati III at the Africa Heads of State Human Capital Summit. Eswatini Sports and Recreation Council has reacted positively to nominations of sports personnel for the upcoming general elections. And now the news. The World Food Programme, in collaboration with other UN agencies and development partners, have promised to strengthen the schools meals program. The commitment was made in a schools meals strengthening meeting that was held in Rome as part of a series of meetings that will be taking place throughout the UN Food System Summit 2023 in Rome. The Deputy Prime Minister, Themba Masuku, is representing His Majesty King Mswati III in Rome.
It was a hive of activity at the FAO headquarters in Rome during the commencement of the series of United Nations meetings that seek to improve food security globally. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Themba Masuku, is representing His Majesty King Mswati III here in Rome. Masuku started the day by attending the Schools Meals Empowering Program. WFP reports that some children, especially in rural areas in most developing nations, only have one meal a day, and that meal they get from school. In 2020, the program assisted about 388 million children with food. However, with the emergence of COVID-19, about 370 million children worldwide had no access to food since schools were suspended. Now that COVID is at least not a global health emergency, WFP, alongside her UN sister agencies and other development partners, have brought together all stakeholders to solicit ways of strengthening the program. Developed nations and global financial institutions like the World Bank promised to fund more agricultural projects that will ensure that children do not go hungry. The Kingdom of Eswatini is one of so many countries in Africa that introduced the school feeding program. In 2010, about 841 schools were able to provide meals to over 340,000 children in the country. When we were compiling this report, the Deputy Prime Minister was attending the official opening ceremony of the UN Food Systems 2023 Summit. The meeting was officially opened by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Guterres lamented Russia's decision to pull out of the Black Sea Agreement. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also rebuked Russia for pulling out of the agreement, something she described as putting the lives of so many people at risk. For Eswatini TV News, I am Lincoln Kule, Rome.
The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini left the country for Tanzania to represent His Majesty King Mswati III at the Africa Heads of State Human Capital Summit.
The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini is expected to represent His Majesty King Mswati III during the Africa Human Capital Heads of State Summit, which seeks to provide responses on engagements with government focal points on the need to bring attention to the role played by human capital in growing the economy of their countries and the importance of investing in people. It is expected that the summit provides concrete commitments of investing in human capital from head of states. His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, is expected to be part of a panel discussion of heads of state titled, "Are we ready to invest in education and productivity of young Africans?" The panel discussion will take place on Wednesday this week. The overall theme of the summit is linking investment in human capital to economic growth and harnessing the demographic dividend by addressing learning poverty and the skills gap for youth and women. Learning poverty is the share of children unable to read and understand a simple text by the age of 10, estimated to be 89% in Africa. This summit comes few days after the Kingdom of Eswatini launched the Eswatini World Bank Group Country Partnership Framework for the year 2024 to 2028. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, King Mswati III International Airport.
The Royal Eswatini Police Service commends Mswati for maintaining peace, which resulted to a crime-free society, especially during the nomination week. The Chief Police Information and Communications Officer, Superintendent Phindile Vilakazi, says there were no major crimes reported that linked to the nomination activity, except for an assault report.
The nominations exercise saw Mswati in different parts of the country participating in the nomination stage, which usually creates the need for the Royal Police Service visibility. The chief, Pico Phindile Vilakazi, says despite the fact that thrones of people were converged in different chiefdoms, there were no major crimes reported, especially those that are associated with this weekend's national events.
Tinombolo betsetulu lokuke kwenta ukuthi ematfuba ebucala mhlambe kungaba ngilobsetulu kephana ke kude ebucala lobekhona lobikwako singathi nje siyabonga kakhulu sive sibonga kakhulu nemaphoyisa emango la sibambisile sisenda lo msebenzi.
Vilakazi says there is one case of assault reported. Other incidents that were reported includes an accident where an unknown motor vehicle knocked down a 35-year-old woman of Sitegi who died. There was also an accident where a 30-year-old driver lost control of his vehicle, which overturned, was also reported dead after sustaining serious injuries. Finally, there was a 23-year-old man who died after being knocked down by a car. Vilakazi says there were 10 drunken driving cases reported the past weekend. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Mbabane.
The Elections and Boundaries Commission is impressed with the public turnout at the nominations of officers of Bukopo, constituency headmen and members of parliament. Commissioner Dr. Njabuliso Dlamini says all nomination centers were beaming with enthusiastic voters.
Indlela labantu bebantu baningi ngakhona and indlela i-youth beyingenile bomake and nangendlela bebavuma nje ku-stand ama-elections ngoba sometimes ukhanza sibakhona kodwa nabasibabakhetha hawu bangavumi. Libandla lingacolisa kulokunye loku bese sekuba ama-inconveniences njengekuphutha kuqala kona kodwa nje konke kugcine kuhamba kahle. I-network-ke ngoba vele i-network asiyi-control nayo ihle ihamba nje ihle ibuya nako-ke bekuhle kwenteka lokho kodwa nje sijabulela lokuthi ekugcineni kwako konke bantu bathi babe patient babeketela kwaze kwalunga konke.
The Elections and Boundaries Commission's Communications Officer, Mbonisi Bembe, says the commission will now start working on vetting all those nominated in accordance with the Constitution and the Elections Act of 2013 before the nominees' names could be published.
Libandla ke lona selithunywa ngumthetho loluse lona lidzaba lekhetho ukuthi awuthathe lamabito ebantfu bese sowuyowalibuka awucathanisa netincabekelwane letibekwa ngumthetho nemtsetfosisekelo. Sitawubuka ukuthi babantfu labawubhadaleni umthelo nobe labalungisile ukuthi bawubhadale umthelo wabo. Sitawubuka kubhalisa kwabo ukuthi babhalisele etikhungweni letingito yini. Sitawuphinda futhi sichubeke sibuke ukuthi bathini betemphilo ngesimo sabo sengqondo. Sitawubuka netikwelede kugajwa kunto tikwelede phecelezi insolvency. Tinengi timbo lesisatawuhlala phasi sitibuke kulamabito bese ke libandla seliyakhona ukuthi lisukume lisivetele ukuthi nembala kulesimo lesikuso sekulungele ukuthi singangena yini nabo sibabite njengebantfu labanconyiwe.
Reporting for Eswatini TV, Mbongwa Dube in Nganeni.
The Kingdom of Eswatini, together with other neighboring countries, are working towards strengthening and monitoring trade of environmentally sensitive goods to control the procedures on both the exporting and importing countries. The Eswatini Environment Authority's Communications Officer, Belusile Mhlanga, says this will bring about agreements in addressing issues of preventing illegal trade and promote cooperation at the regional level. Mhlanga was speaking during the Joint National Ozone Unit and other partners held in Sibebe, Mbuluzi.
In a bid to implement the Montreal Protocol, countries that are signatory to this agreement in the region are currently engaging with the neighboring countries such as Lesotho, Mozambique, and South Africa to try and synchronize border enforcement procedures between the trading parties. The Eswatini Environment Authority's Communications Officer, Belusile Mhlanga, says the meeting will help to control environmentally sensitive goods and ozone-depleting substances, as well as HCFs.
Today's meeting is about ensuring that we have effective processes that do not end up stifling trade, as we know that there is a call for open trade and ozone-depleting substances are one of the controlled substances. So we have to ensure that our borders have similar processes that do not hinder the trade in these substances. We create an enabling environment whilst at the same time building the capacity of our custom officials, as they are not technical experts on the issue of monitoring ODS substances and HFCs.
United Nations Environment Programme's Regional Coordinator Patrick Selifu says the meeting is looking to refresh the customs officers' information on the procedures of monitoring ozone-depleting substances.
Most of the countries, especially the revenue services or revenue authorities, there were some HS codes. These are the codes they use to identify a particular substance. So there were new codes that were launched under the auspices of the World Customs Organization on 1st January 2022. So most of the customs services, customs authorities, they have adopted these new HS codes.
The Kingdom of Eswatini, as a signatory to the Montreal Protocol, is working hard in ensuring that the HCFs are phased down. Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Sibebe.
It is important to carry out safety audits on a regular basis to ensure the safety of passengers and goods ferried by a local airline. in adherence to international safety standards. These were the sentiments of the Chief Executive Officer of the Royal Eswatini National Airways Corporation, President Dlamini, during the official opening of a training workshop for the corporation's technical staff members, which will culminate to awarding of the IOSA certificate under the auspices of the International Air Transport Association.
The training workshop on safety audits for the Royal Eswatini National Airways Corporation is taking place at Esibayeni Lodge in Matapa, and it is one of many crucial exercises carried out in the air transport industry to ensure high safety standards.
Once we get this IOSA certification and we become members of IATA, our clients will have confidence of our safety standards, and other airlines will also have confidence of entering into agreements, commercial agreements with us, such as code share, and we will also be able even to check through baggage at our transit points, and we have reciprocal agreements with those airlines to work with us. We are looking at working on this project and standardizing and aligning our manuals to IOSA to be finished by the end of October, after which we will then invite IATA to come in and audit us.
Technical and Operations Director at the African Airlines Association, Goso Konate, says his organization is not only concerned with physical safety of airlines, but technological safety as well. Hence, they also do online observations.
Our industry is actually, I will say, it is capital intensive, and it's also labor intensive, and it is even regulatory intensive because it's really regulated. So it's very important for the airlines to be member of the industry association.
Some of the key areas of safety that the association audits on a regular basis are security and the cabin. According to President Dlamini, the corporation hopes to standardize and align all its safety manuals with those of the International Air Transport Association by October 2023, and thereafter get the IOSA accreditation. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Mbonga Dube with Cindy Swazwane in Matapa.
The Health Promotion Officer in the Shiselweni region, Clement Dlamini, says it is important to bring health services closer to bus conductors since they rarely get the time to visit health centers.
The Ministry of Health is continuing with the campaign of bringing health services closer to the people. The Health Promotion Officer in the Shiselweni region, Clement Dlamini, says they are also urging the conductors to take the lead in encouraging women to visit health centers.
Lokuthi ke malangeni size sibuke ukuthi kufanele ukuthi side nala sibabuke bashayeli betinqola sibuke ukuthi bobabe vele nakhona baningi kakhulu kanike futhi abakhona ukuthola emathuba lanele ukuthi bavele emtholampilo ngakho ke sibasonzetele nema services sitabe sichecka nje iHIV AIDS sikhona kuchecka aboshukela sikhona kuchecka nabo BP sikhona ke nekubhalisa nje sithole leto dinombolo ukuthi nangabe bakhona labafuna kuhamba bende ama services la ngekho la sikhona ukuthi sibasonzete emtholampilo boba bebahlushwa kakhulu different fire cuts na tifo lesingathi pected atithathelwana different fire cuts isifo sashukela isifo se BP ngakho ke sibukile ukuthi vele nasingasonzela kubo sibakhuthate lokuthi abaphile basonzele emtholampilo batokhona lokuthi bativikele ikakhulu ngoba udawathi phela sikuvikela kungcono kunekwelapha.
The Ministry of Health is also educating the bus conductors on prevention measures of prostate cancer, which is most prevalent among men above 40 years in the country. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Thando Mdluli, Mhlangano.
A group of 3 men from Gololweni Chiefdom who are facing a murder charge of intentionally killing Mkwili Mamba have appeared before the Nhlangano Magistrate Court concerning the charge.
The 3 murder suspects, Mbuso Gininza, who is 23 years old, Wonderboy Gininza, who is 29 years old, and Pilange Nkosi Gininza, who is 31 years old, of Ngololweni Chiefdom, have made a court appearance before the acting magistrate Pale Sandendeza at Nhlangano. The suspects are facing a murder charge of intentionally killing Mkwili Mamba on the 9th of July 2023. According to media reports, the deceased was suspected to be a goat rustler at Ngololweni Chiefdom. The court has afforded the three suspects an opportunity to hire an attorney to represent them in the case. The acting magistrate is remanding the suspects in custody until the 31st of August, where they will appear before the High Court. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Thando Mdluli, Nhlangano.
For our international news, the former Minister of Sanitation and Water Affairs in the Republic of Ghana, Cecilia Dapa, has been arrested on charges of corruption after being found with over $1 million in her house. The arrest of the former minister follows her house arrest, which had been ordered by the prosecution on July 22. Cecilia had previously accused her domestic workers of stealing over $1 million from her house, which then caused a public outcry with Ghanaians and corruption campaigners questioning how a public servant could have so much money in such tough economic times. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo accepted the minister's resignation. And in Spain, the Vox party in Spain failed to secure enough votes that could allow a strong coalition with other political parties in a bid to dethrone President Pedro Sanchez and take control of parliament. The Vox party, largely seen as kingmakers, lost over 20 parliamentary seats and over 3% of the overall national election. Dear viewers, now take a look at our financial updates.
The Sports was proudly brought to you by eBet. Don't hesitate. Visit us today at ebet.co.sz. eBet, born to win.
Welcome back. You're still watching Eswatini TV and our sports roundup. Eswatini Sports and Recreation Council has reacted positively to nominations of sports personnel for the upcoming general elections. This follows over 21 sports personnel being nominated in different positions, including Member of Parliament position.
In our sports roundup this past weekend in the national elections, where familiar faces in the sports fraternity were also nominated with over 20 nominations across all positions. Eswatini Sports and Recreation Council has reacted positively to the nomination of the sports personnel.
Noma nje ngabe kusese early stage sema elections kacha siyajabula nje kubona bantu bethu bema sports banominate live nase emehlo nemilomo seyiminenge eParliament uthi kugcwele iyouth lapha bantu lesisashuma nanabo tinelichaza lengathi nginasho njalo lichaza lelikhulu lelitadlala esiveni.
The Sports Council concluded encouraging young people to also participate in different roles of the elections as they are the future of tomorrow's country. Moving on, 3 of Mbawane Solo's senior players were amongst the nominees this past weekend during the nomination process. 3 players were all nominated for Member of Parliament position. The players are Felix Bedenos of Spofane constituency, Wandanhlek of Keke constituency, and Sandile Geninda and Mbabane East.
Sokhethe sive imbabana solo sikude lengabe siyakwenda but kwanyalo bakhona sibakhululile nje nasiyodlala ngoba sidlala friend game litolo bebangekho ngoba babuya kulungisela letinto lethu sabakhulula but bakhona bayajima sibe sambe nabo futhi nase uLundi tabe bakhona but sisabanikeza lesikhathi nathi sibafuna kuyokwenza ama campaign lokwenza lezo tinto leto sibanikeze but babe baqhubeka bajima safuna ukuthi sibe ne program na coaches sikhona kwathi ukuthi uthinyanini bayentanini campaign la singabasitha khona nguphi ngoba nathi sisabasitha lasibasitha khona ukuthi bakhone ukuthi bakhetheke babe ma-MPs.
The 3 players are expected to leave with the club for pre-season tournament this coming weekend in the Republic of South Africa. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini with Nosipon Sibande Babane.
The Sports was proudly brought to you by eBet. Don't hesitate. Visit us today at ebet.co.sz. eBet, born to win.
That is all we had for tonight, but before we wrap up, we'll take a quick recap of today's headlines. The World Food Programme, in collaboration with other UN agencies and development partners, have promised to strengthen the schools meals program. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini left the country for Tanzania to represent His Majesty King Mswati III at the Africa Heads of State Human Capital Summit. Eswatini Sports and Recreation Council has reacted positively to nominations of sports personnel for the upcoming general elections. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin tonight. Up next is the weather focus for selected towns. Good night, Eswatini.
The new Hi-Fi Corp Matapa store is now open with exclusive deals in store on an even bigger range of appliances and tech. Shop the Hisense 58-inch smart UHD TV for only $7,499, save $4,000. Or this Samsung Galaxy A03 core smartphone for $1,799, save $200. With even more ways to pay on simple terms of up to 36 months, why shop anywhere else? Visit the new Hi-Fi Corp Matapa store while stocks last. Deals valid from 27 to 31 July 20.
Here, while some sleep on one side of the globe, on the other, dreams are becoming a reality.
Marta writes her name into World Cup history.
Here, before the dawn peeks over Africa, there are those who will wake to watch history